Hey, BR Tidwell 55 here. This video is going to be a little bit different because I'm going to rant, hence the rant shades. I'm going to rant on some open source projects that, in my considered, esteemed, and learned opinion, are complete, total piles of flaming, rotting shit. There, I said it. It's Brian's list. If you're a member over at Cup of Linux Lounge, you've probably heard me mention this list. Well, this video, I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to tell you why I think these projects are shit. They're crap. They're worthless. And I don't use them. I don't like them. I'm going to tell you why right now. So let's get started, shall we? All righty. Okay. Number one, and no, it's not Ubuntu. Actually, I like Ubuntu. I've said before, I think Ubuntu is an excellent base on which to build an operating system. What I don't like is Ubuntu's default desktop environment, and that is Unity. Now, I have addressed this before, so I'm going to go ahead and lay this out. I think Unity is shit, not because of the privacy concerns. Actually, I'm going to dismiss that right now, and I'm going to take that out of the mix. Number one, because that Unity dash search function thing, that's easy enough to turn off. Number one. Number two, based on some conversations that I've had with people who I consider credible, those privacy concerns, even when that thing's turned on, it doesn't do what a lot of people are afraid it does. So even with those privacy concerns aside, which may or may not be valid, I dislike Unity because I don't like the way it works. Plain and simple. I find it extremely difficult to use. At least use the way that I want to use a desktop environment. So, as you can see here, this is simply a screenshot. I wasn't going to go to the trouble of trying to install any of this to make a rant video. But anyway, here you have a screenshot of typical Unity desktop setup. I'm not sure which version this is. Doesn't really matter. They're all pretty much the same as far as the way they're set up. Problems with Unity. First of all, number one problem with Unity, it takes 3 to 4 clicks. Starting up here, it takes about 3 to 4 clicks to find anything. I mean, last time I ran Unity and tried to find a terminal, it took me 4 clicks to open a damn terminal. It's hard to find, it's hard to see exactly what applications you have installed on there. And once you find them all, they're not listed functionally, they're listed alphabetically. So that makes it extremely difficult to find the applications you want to use. Now, I know, well, why don't you just use the dash function? Fuck the dash function, all right? If I wanted to type, if I wanted to navigate an operating system, a file system by typing, I'd open a damn terminal, all right? The second problem I have with it is the top panel is pretty much just fucking useless, all right? Basically, all it is, it's a place to hang a clock and the shutdown widget, all right? And it's just stuck up there at the top. You can't move it to the bottom if you prefer your panel at the bottom. You can't do anything with it. I mean, it's just kind of there doing nothing. Third problem I have with it is the dock over here on the left-hand side. Again, another desktop element that you can't do anything with. It's just there. It's always going to be over there on the left. Yeah, you can auto-hide it, okay? But that's all you can do with it is auto-hide it. You can't move it to the right if you want it on the right-hand side of the screen. You can't move it to the bottom if you prefer it on the bottom screen. But you can use docking or something like that and put that on the bottom screen. Why should I add another desktop element when the functionality already exists? It's already built in. I just can't put it where I want to put it. All right. And then Unity, and this is a problem that GNOME Shell also has, I've got all this screen real estate here. Why the hell can't I put shortcuts or launchers on here? Why? Why? Now, I understand that there's a lot of people that prefer a clean look to their desktop environment. They don't want launchers. They don't want icons there. But you know what? Every other desktop environment that allows you to put shortcuts and launchers there also allows you to turn them off. You don't have to use it if you don't want to. Hell, at least give people the option. Unity? Unity's crap, and that's why I don't use it. Okay, moving on. This is one that really gets my blood pressure up. Take a sip of coffee here. Enlightenment. Now, a lot of people will tell you, oh, Enlightenment's really advanced. It's got a lot of potential. It's just this really, really cool thing. Brian, you should try it. Well, I bought into the hype. I did try it. And here's what I found. First of all, I run a dual screen setup. So a window manager, a desktop environment, must be able to handle dual screens correctly, to get a nod from me. With Enlightenment, I found it did not handle my dual screens correctly upon initial setup, which is no problem. I don't expect every window manager or desktop environment to be able to do that on initial setup, although most of them I've tried do. It's normally pretty easy to get those desktops, those monitors configured correctly. You save the settings, and so the next time you boot up, the next time you log off, log back in, your monitors are set up correctly. And Enlightenment seems to have a problem remembering those settings. So for me, I had to set up my desktops every time I logged off and logged back in. Or my monitors. I had to set those up every time I logged off and logged back in because it wouldn't remember the settings. Houston, we have a problem here. The other major issue I had with Enlightenment was it does not do a basic window management function correctly, a very basic window management function. And that is redraw a window after it has been restored from minimize. Every time I would minimize a window and go back to restore that window, I'd get a big white rectangle. Now, Enlightenment looks cool. It has some snazzy desktop effects and all that, and they've put some effort into making it pretty. But hey, Enlightenment team, before you worry about the pretty, get the basic fucking functionality right. It ought to be able to redraw a window correctly. That is the main reason why I have proclaimed Enlightenment to be shit. Okay, moving on. Entry number 4 on Brian's list. Now, oh, by the way, this list is not, it's chronological. So it's not a measure of relative worthlessness of any of these projects. In my mind, they are all equally worthless. So, moving on to entry number 3 on Brian's list of things are absolute piles of flaming, rotting shit. OpenSUSE. Oh yeah, I'm going to get some hate for this one. Because a lot of people use OpenSUSE, a lot of people love OpenSUSE. And that's fine and dandy. I am sure that OpenSUSE is a fine, wonderful operating system. Unfortunately, I'll never get to find out for reasons that I will list. Now, keep in mind, I test a lot of operating systems. On my test machine, I have 6 different partitions. I have 6 different system partitions. One of those partitions is labeled test, and it's just like it says on the tin. I install operating systems to that partition in order to test, in order to do reviews on. That's how I do most of my reviews, on actual hardware on that test partition. Problem number 1 with OpenSUSE, when I went to install it, it had an end-user license agreement. That kind of rubs me the wrong way. It is the first Linux distribution that I have ever attempted to install that asked me to agree to an end-user license agreement before I can continue with the installation. Issue number one. Issue number two. When I went to install it, and I got to the partition manager of the installer, I was greeted with the most confusing, most Byzantine partition manager I have ever seen in my entire life. First thing, what it does is it scans your system and it comes up with some automated recommendation on how to install the operating system. And it gives you some defaults, like for one, the file system itself, it defaults to butterfs. Now, again, I've never personally tried butterfs. I understand that it is an advanced file system, that is an advanced journaling file system that allows you to do like snapshots and rollbacks and things like that, which is all great, which is needed. But I also understand that butterfs is still kind of experimental, that it's not quite as stable as, say, ext4. So I personally would prefer a default to ext4. So it took me a while to figure out how to change that file system recommendation from butterfs to ext4. But once I figured that out, again, like I said, on this test machine, I've got 6 different system partitions. It is vitally important to me that I'm able to target installation of an operating system to the partition that I want it to go on. I could not figure that out with SUSE's partition manager. I just couldn't. And at the end of the day, I was afraid that it was going to eat my entire hard drive, or actually 2 hard drives, because I've got 2 physical hard drives in this system. I do know of another person who tried OpenSUSE and he was trying to run a dual boot environment, and OpenSUSE ate his entire hard drive, for lack of a better term. So OpenSUSE, it eats hard drives. That's why OpenSUSE is shit. Okay, most recent entry on the list. Now this is one I admit I've never tried. I've done a lot of research about it, and frankly, it's on the list for purely philosophical reasons. ReactOS project. Okay, for those of you who may not know what ReactOS is a project that is attempting to reverse engineer and recreate and re-implement Windows XP with completely, and it's completely free and open source. A laudable goal, I suppose, but ultimately one that I consider a waste of time, talent, and CPU cycles. And why is that, you ask? Well, the ReactOS crew, bless their hearts, they've been at this since 1998, I think. They were first trying to recreate Windows 95 or Windows 98. As technology moved along, they moved along, and they've restarted the project a couple of times. Now they're working on trying to recreate Windows XP. Don't get me wrong. As far as Microsoft operating systems go, I liked Windows XP. Used Windows XP for a long time. Got no problem with Windows XP, but let's face facts. Windows XP has been deprecated by Microsoft. They no longer officially support it. Okay? It's an obsolete operating system. So what the crew over at ReactOS is ultimately trying to do is re-implement an obsolete operating system. It's no longer supported by its original developer, and is going to be, if they get to their goal of being 100% compatible with Windows binaries, That's fine and dandy. That means it's also going to be 100% compatible with all the Windows malware that's out there. And it's also going to have all the same exploits that's baked into Windows XP. Uh, yeah, that's not a good thing. All right. I would much rather see that time, talent, and those CPU cycles. And I know they do trade that they trade code and implement some stuff from the Wine project. I would rather see React OS completely scrapped. Let's put that effort into Wine, and make Wine. I think where Wine sits now, it's about it'll run about 75% of the Windows binaries out there. Crap. Let's make Wine as good as it can be, a little bit easier to use. Let's try to make it 95% compatible. And oh yeah, Wine has the same issue. If it'll run a Windows binary, it'll run Windows malware. But at least under Wine, if you do that and you do catch something bad out there, if you're running Wine Sandbox, it's not going to affect the rest of your system. Whereas this thing, React OS, let's say they do get, and oh, by the way, they still haven't produced a beta that'll run independently on hardware. It'll only run in a virtual machine. So, well, maybe that's for the best, because then if you're running it in a VM, it's still sandboxed. But I mean, if you're going to run React OS, then you're still going to have the same performance issues that you have with Windows XP, because you're still going to have to run some kind of antivirus, some kind of active antivirus. You're still going to have to do all the things that you used to have to do to protect yourself while running Windows XP. You're going to have to do it to you're going to have to run that to run React OS. So personally, like I said, waste of time, talent, resources, CPU cycles. It's crap. Okay, it's on the list. So there you go, folks. Brian's list of things, and this is an ongoing list. And I know that I'm going to get a lot of hate for this, but I just wanted to get it out there. I had to get this off my chest. It was, and thanks for watching, because this was very cathartic for me. So, BR Tidwell 55, Brian's list of things that are absolute total piles of shit. Thanks for watching.